And we are live, I think. Hi, everybody. Oh, yes.
Yes, we are live.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to our oh my gosh, what is this? Yes, Thursday evening traffic and transportation meeting. I'm here, Anthony Reno is chair, and I guess we're going to go over the last meeting that we had, which was at Park Asia, about the 7th and 8th Avenue DOT plan, as it were. So we met with DOT last week. Was it last week already?
Yes, it was on
Yeah.
September the 9th.
Thank you. Yeah, September 9th.
Exactly one week.
Exactly 1 week.
Exactly 1 week. And their proposal to change 7th and 8th Avenue into basically one-way streets. Their presentation was given to us, to the community again. I was told it was the same presentation that was given several other times as well. So there was nothing new. But I believe we have to discuss now and call to a vote. If I'm correct, Josephine, I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah. Well, just, by way of background, the Department of Transportation did present this to a community advisory board over the summer. There was residents who initiated an Article 78 proceeding. Our very own Steve Harrison was the attorney in that proceeding. In order that the community boards affected in this proposal, and there are 3 community boards, 7, 10, and 12, that are impacted by this very large one-way conversion proposal. And it spans from 39th Street all the way to 66th Street, but we learned too that 67th Street between Fort Hamilton Parkway and 8th Avenue was also added. So it actually, widened its parameters. And the Community Board 10 portion, just to remind board members here today, is roughly from about 62nd Street to that 67th Street. So that 5 block in width, and then I guess 2 blocks because it would be 7th and 8th Avenues. So a total of 10 blocks of this large proposal. Community Board 7 is going to be having their own meeting and presentation. So they have not met yet on this. And Community Board 12, I spoke to the district manager there, and they are meeting on September the 30th. Originally, CB7 was scheduled for next week, but they are going to be rescheduling that. Right now it's October 5th. I don't know if that's going to change or not. I haven't gotten an official notice yet, but the point is it's going to be after our board meeting, their review. In order to prepare, as we do all things at CB10, we wanted to make sure, because we did hear from residents, we received copies of petitions against the proposal, about 10,000, that were really grassroots petitions, people genuinely concerned about the impacts of such, a very large proposal. And I think what we heard, just to recap at the meeting, for you, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but the district office, we did a mailing, an every door direct mailing to the portion of our district from 62nd Street to 67th Street, roughly from about, I would say, 5th to 10th Avenue, because it's, when you do an every door direct mailing, it's carrier route sorted. So it was in 2 different zip codes because of the way the geography is. And we got lots of calls and emails, and as you know, the room was very much filled to capacity. Both the interior Park Asia and the outdoor viewing area. I think we had about 150 people.
Easily, yeah, easily.
I think it was even more.
Yeah, that were.
I didn't see outside, but I mean every.
Outside, I think there was even more, Josephine.
Yeah, I mean that could very well. I think I took some photos, which if I could get them up.
Yeah, I had some somewhere too. It was certainly a well-attended,
Very well,
and well talked about, and there were lots of things said on both sides. I mean, it's a very hot topic for sure. It would be a huge change for the community. So, and so rightfully so, everyone had a lot of things to say.
Yeah. So I think that from what, from what we heard, just I did a quick list of summary for the committee. Many of the organizations that had outreach during the 2019 outreach from DOT felt as if they came for a survey in 2019, but they didn't come back to those same community groups to discuss their proposal. And that's where the civic engagement sort of ended, and they weren't happy. There were many concerns about the impacts to 8th Avenue, the commercial impacts potentially. There wasn't too much conversation, I think, from DOT about some of the cultural implications that, I felt that. I don't know if board members did, or if you've, there's a lot of street vending that takes place. The sidewalks are congested. A lot of the issues that bring about pedestrian safety concerns didn't appear to be addressed in the plan that was presented by the Department of Transportation. And we heard that, speaker after speaker, that they felt this was not a good plan, that there were more questions and concerns. Steve Harrison raised the point about the one-way bicycle lane. When you have a commercial strip that has so many restaurants and other uses that require delivery service, where you'll have two-way bicycle travel, that you're still going to have those issues of street congestion. Peter Abadi, the assemblyman for the area that's been very vocal on this for more community input, he added that sentiment that, some of the bus rerouting, the connection points to 62nd Street and 8th Avenue, these are all very, big issues that aren't being addressed in this proposal, and reasons why he feels that we need to continue to have conversations and discussions. But the bottom line is that we have to vote on this or offer our recommendations before October 9th, because the lawsuit, the Article 78, really guided by the administrative code, does set a time restriction on the public review presentation portion. So DOT presented to us on September the 9th. And we do have to provide feedback to them by October 9th. And then, they're going to make a decision. They don't have to come back to us. I think they have to inform us of what they're doing, but I think the public portion of this will, our requirement is that we have to have something to them in terms of our comments by October 9th. So Anthony, I'll turn it back over to you. That was the little summary that.
Yeah. So I would say, the presentation that they showed was good. It was the first time I had seen it. I have not been on traffic and transportation, so I have not seen that presentation before. It was informative. I think everybody already has sort of opinions on both sides. So I would ask if anybody has any recommendations. We can spell that out for the DOT and then offer it to them. I think that's the main purpose of today's today's meeting. Yeah.
Diane?
Diane, yep.
Diane, you're on mute.
And I'm going to mute myself just right now.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
So I think what I find most bothersome by this whole process is the fact that DOT does not have to come back to get our opinion on whatever plan they're going to implement. And that, to me, that is bothersome, especially when we had such an outcry from the community. It's like, well, you have your chance to talk about it, but we really don't care, and we're going to do whatever we want to do. So I don't know whether, and I don't know the protocol. So excuse me for maybe suggesting something that may not be protocol. But can't we get the city council involved in this proposal to let them know? I think that if the recommendation to make changes to the proposal came from the city council members involved, that maybe DOT might listen at that point, and they and again, I don't know whether I'm speaking out of turn or not, but
Yeah, are we able to come up with some recommendations tonight, perhaps that, again, what Diane is saying, like, yeah, can we have council members? Can we have from all the community boards involved, assuming all the community boards are in the same opinion that we seem to be? Can we get them to sign off on that or offer additional?
So I would say the biggest challenge that, we certainly reach out. I know that Councilman Brannan, who has maybe a block or two in his district. I know Stephanie is on the line tonight. And but the bulk of this project is within Council Member Carlos Menchaca's office. He is many of the residents have tried to reach out to him. His office has been closed through the pandemic. The Community Board 10 office mailed him an invitation, emailed an invitation. We have not heard back from him. In fact, the councilman's invitation came back as non-returnable. It was not forwardable because his office is closed. Stephanie just wrote in the chat that his office is supportive of these changes. And I mean, I've heard that, but I haven't heard that from him or his staff. So I think that, I think it's important that we just outline our concerns about, and I think we have some real true concerns that need to be addressed. Some of the residents, I mean, I could just, maybe if we want to go through some of the issues or the notes that we took that evening of what the concerns were. I think what I heard top and foremost from some of our members is 65th Street and 7th Avenue, which the proposal says will be a deadhead, meaning that traffic will converge at 65th Street and 7th Avenue. And this committee, Anthony, prior to you and Jane, maybe you could speak to it. We spent a lot of time to improve pedestrian safety at that intersection. And this proposal changes that really drastically. It is probably one of the highest crash corridors that saw improvement, positive feedback from pedestrians at that intersection. And creating a deadhead, it just, again, not being a traffic engineer, feels to many as being not safe. To have traffic heading southbound on 7th Avenue converge now with 65th Street was a big problem that was raised at the November hearing when this was very preliminary, when the committee looked at it, but that was pretty big. How do you all feel about that?
Yeah, I would just add that, like, for Anthony as well, like, yes, they had come to us. Josephine, was that September 2020 or September 2019?
It was November of 2020.
November of 2020. It feels like it was so very long ago when they first had come to our committee, and they did not have the specifics of the blocks outlined the way they did in the proposal that we saw last week. And again, our part of it is the smallest part of the full proposal. We were anxious to hear what other community boards, what other agencies, what other things were happening. So community outreach was a very big part for us. And, our role has always been to be advisory on what's been presented to us and to share the voice and the concern of the community. And the community that we heard from spoke very loudly and clearly that they were not in favor of it. So I would just kind of, summarize it in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I heard one person that evening who was in favor, not even slightly in favor. Well, they were in favor. I will say this: they were in favor of having more discussions, of having a more open dialogue. They were accepting of that maybe some change might be needed, but certainly not to the extent that the city is coming in and just like fundamentally changing whole sections of neighborhoods. That's how it felt.
Yeah, and again, I mean, even in the presentation, the community groups and outreach that received the surveys, it was those leaders and those groups that said, yes, we filled out surveys. We're for safety, but then you left us and you never came back. And they had to fight in court to have the opportunity to be heard, to voice their concerns and their opinions. And certainly, I spoke to many of the, and I'm sure you all did, a lot of the, those in attendance came over to me. And, some were business owners who have been through a lot. They've been through a pandemic, their businesses were impacted. In addition to that, they've been dealing with Asian hate fears. And this has, one person said that this is really too much to go through at one time. We need to slow this down. This is being rushed. This is, there's not this back and forth dialogue. And this is our community, our streets. This is not a map, from an office that's in downtown Brooklyn. These are real palpable concerns that we have. And we feel as if you're telling us what you're doing, but you're not engaging the community. And we know it best. And we have A, B, C, and D concerns. So I think that should certainly be, expressed in some way in our recommendation.
Agreed.
Yeah, Joe, I think it's important to note also that DOT had no intention of coming back to the community boards. And that was the reason that we had to proceed with the Article 78 to force them to come back and make these presentations. Otherwise, they would have never come back at all.
Yes.
So I have a couple of comments. The DOT considered this in 2005, and they said it does not, the conditions do not warrant the changes. And that was a very statistical, driven analysis. They said how many cars, they talked about the cars on 7th and 9th Avenue and the turning at various intersections. And the DOT's current presentation had no statistical data. And one of my concerns about the little bit of data they had was the number of bicycles. But they did not say whether they were commercial delivery bicycles or recreational commuter bicycles. And I would be willing to bet that most of the bicycles in that area are commercial delivery bicycles. And I would also say that I know the area well because I grew up on 59th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. And my second comment is they limited their study to 7th and 8th Avenue. They did not even consider the impact on 6th Avenue, 9th Avenue, and Fort Hamilton Parkway. You have to realize you have to look at the bigger picture and the impact this will have on the broader community. So we think they did a very insufficient survey, and we need a better analysis.
Right. Doris, I would also add 65th Street to that.
Oh, yes. Because they did not really consider the impact on 65th Street. And I have that in my notes from the 2020 November meeting. I looked at them today.
Right. I just want to remind committee members that the board also spent a great deal of time on the 65th Street corridor, and in slowing speeds on 65th Street, the morning commuter prohibition from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. was removed. And on 65th Street and 7th Avenue, because of backups that were experienced, that portion of 7th Avenue became a no stopping anytime, and 65th Street right off of 7th Avenue became a truck loading and unloading zone. So now when you make a deadhead situation, you're going to increase your right and left turn movements. Will 65th Street have the capacity to handle the added turning movements, that will result from having 2 lanes of 7th Avenue, then feed into 1 lane and deadhead at 65th Street and 7th Avenue. So I just want to make sure we add that as well.
I think also thinking about what stuck out too is the buses, and having every 5 blocks, and then having to cross over now. They're trying to convince us sort of that it was a shorter distance, but then if you want to get, depending on what way you're going, you have to go an entire avenue, and your exposure, I think, actually ends up being a little bit more, because you have to walk so many blocks to get the bus if it's going to be every 5 blocks. I thought that was that, and taking away all those parking spots. Again, we're constantly taking away parking, but there were 183 parking spots that were going to be taken away. It really doesn't. It just doesn't seem to me that there was any true consultation, or listening to the community. And the community is well spoken and very clear, what their concerns are. I think it's not going to take us very long to make a list of the things that that are sort of in contention here, because it's very clear. It's very, very clear.
I have a question regarding the buses. I don't know if I missed this or not. Did they say anything about making a bus only lane in this proposal?
I don't think so, because
No.
Okay, because I think that, and I would like to hear from the MTA, is that something that they're considering doing as well? Once these become one-way streets in their minds?
It looked like it was going to be there. If I remember correctly, it was like a bike lane parking, or there was definitely no
bike lane.
bus
No
only.
bus lane. No.
There were protected bike lanes, in some sections, and then
Just want to show everyone I'm showing the pictures here.
Right. Sorry. Okay.
I want to commend Joe Sokolowski for immediately recognizing the problems with the buses and making the bus stops 5 blocks apart and more blocks for people to travel. But I was also concerned that they had loading zones, which is a good thing. However, they had more loading zones on 7th Avenue, which is more residential than they did on 8th Avenue.
Right. Thank you.
It's like, duh.
Well, it's almost as if no one even sort of looked at it, right? It was just, they just kind of they took a generic plan from somewhere else and stuck a generic plan into this neighborhood and just figured, well, it sort of worked over there. I think they mentioned Queens, right? It worked in Queens, or it sort of worked in Queens, or we did it.
They also showed two pictures of 6th Avenue in Manhattan. And I would like to know how wide 6th Avenue in Manhattan is and what kind of commercial and pedestrian traffic that area has.
Which is apples and oranges. You can't compare.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I have another question, clarification. Is it possible to restrict truck deliveries to certain hours during the day? In other words, to try to alleviate all of the double parking from the trucks, etc., and to say, truck,
truck delivery
trucks can-
time from 6
Yeah,
a.m.
truck delivery during
You know what,
certain time-
Diane? It's so difficult. We tried that in a few locations in the board. And when you have one store, it's difficult enough. But when you have such an array of shopping strips, and then you have vendors on top of to coordinate that on because so much of it is commercial, I think would be really difficult. And enforcement is the other issue. You have a lot of these loading zones, and we see it in the district here, and we see it on 65th and 7th. When you have congested area, you have, non-adherence to no standing truck loading and unloading. And, without that enforcement, it becomes quite difficult. Again, that's another reason for congestion, is the illegal parking.
Enforcement, Josephine, I think really is what it's going to come down to as well. Once again, I have to say, we went with the DOT's plan to do the one-way conversion on 9th Avenue for the 2 blocks by our school. And it is literally violated daily, on a daily basis, trucks, high-lows, cars. It has, it's helped in that we have not had, we haven't had an accident. So statistically, there's there's nothing to say that it hasn't worked, but it's violated all the time.
Right.
And I'm very afraid, and it's something that I've,
Yeah, there hasn't
shared.
been, an accident yet.
Yeah, you're right, but you're also creating, with these one-way conversions for all these blocks, you're creating potential hazards on all these places where the truck that feels, or the car that feels they're just going right over there, goes the wrong way on a one-way street. And especially this deadhead on 65th Street, we have it at the corner of 64th Street. It's not easy. And we don't nearly get as much traffic as they do a block away on 65th.
I have a question, because being new to this, and so
Yeah.
I know that our portion of this is only a few blocks. Are the recommendations and the feedback that we're giving, is it just on the portion that is within our community board, or are we able to comment on the project as a whole?
Yeah, I think we can do both. I think we can, speak to our particular section and our concerns. And I think it's fair to express the concerns that were raised from so many people who came out, to voice their concerns. The community was very vocal. I mean, and they came and they showed up and they're organizing and they're really trying to, as many said, raise their voices so all can hear them. I think you're right. I think their elected officials need to hear them. I think, they're well served. I think Assemblyman Peter Abadi has been, quite a champion and raising that voice for them. I commend them for doing the lawsuit. I commend them for continuing to show up at every community board meeting that's going to be planned. And, they keep in touch here. They call the district office often and they bring up different points to me. As someone called today about most of Sunset Park and the northern part of the district is an environmental justice area that does require for environmental reviews, added public hearings and input for major transportation and environmental issues. And they asked if this would be applicable. Something I don't know the answer to, but certainly I think we're going to ask that question because again, we're more so in the Sunset Park area. And I did reach out to Community Board 7 to share that question. 67th Street residents, they just learned of this, of their portion of this, the back and angle parking, which they successfully fought at our community board back in 1997. Because they did not want the back end angle parking with the light shining in their windows, the added cars on the street, from the park. There are games at the Dust Bowl that go to 11 o'clock and midnight. And it's loud, and there are car dealerships in the area, and they've had, added garbage and debris in the commercial section, but they don't want that encroached on the residential section. So they're coming to the board meeting on Monday with their petitions against that, that section. So, it's a vast area. We have a small amount of it, but yet there's so much here to unravel. So I think we can just summarize and express what we heard that evening, both locally and on the broader public engagement, because I think they raised good points and this is our opportunity to document it.
Yeah.
Since you just mentioned the environmental issue, in the back of my head, this is an area where people from various parts of Brooklyn go to shop. And so there's lots of shopping. And if they eliminate 183 parking spaces, people still want to go there to shop because they're getting the merchandise that they want. There will be more circling, more turning. There will be more carbon emissions in that area than there have been with as much traffic as they have now. It will have a much more devastating environmental impact on that community.
The amount of car idling will absolutely increase. If you look at, where I work in Park Slope, I'm over on 2nd Street and 7th Avenue, 6th Avenue, 8th Avenue goes one way by Union. At the end of the day, when everybody, that traffic it actually doesn't matter which way you go, because 6th is, 8th Avenue goes one way towards Union. it's just car after car after car after car just idling. I mean, there's no way that turning, 7th and 8th Avenue in this section one way is gonna, it's only gonna add to that. I mean, it's just, I mean, at this point, maybe we can, I know we have to vote, but I think, do we want to, Josephine, advise me here, how to proceed, and Jane too, since you guys are, you guys were more involved in this from the get-go.
Yeah, I think at this point, we need a motion, and to kind of summarize, I think we jotted down all of the key issues.
Yeah.
So someone would have to make a motion. I mean, if you want, we could just review them really quickly. Someone could state a motion, and then we could discuss it a bit more. It was really hard after the last meeting because, Maggie Gu was nice enough to give us the space, and we were running out of time. It was the late hour, so
Yeah.
we don't have to rehash everything, but
Josephine,
yes.
it's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
I make the motion to deny this plan.
I second the motion, the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Joe and a second from Doris. So
I
there
mean,
we
I
go.
think we can add some concerns.
I was gonna say, yeah, do we want to add some context to that? I'm sure.
Because of concerns, do you want me to go through the list?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, just so we can kind of hear it out loud, and in case there's something on there, maybe we didn't already
Okay.
say.
Um,
Dean, you're very quiet, Dean.
so number one was the deadhead at 65th Street and 7th Avenue. Two is, community outreach and civic engagement. Residents in attendance felt there wasn't sufficient civic outreach. Many concerns, from business to business impacts to the overall safety of the proposal. Concerns about the one-way bicycle lanes with a large amount of commercial deliveries. Congested sidewalks were not addressed in the proposal. The study was limited to the 7th and 8th Avenue corridors. There was not statistical information provided about 6th Avenue, 9th Avenue, Fort Hamilton Parkway, and 65th Street. The buses and the changes to the bus line, the added space between bus stops was a great concern to many of the seniors in attendance. The transfer point to the N train at 62nd Street, which will be the first ADA compliant station. Now that change with this plan will be impacted. That's what I had. I had those 5. Did I miss anything?
Anybody else have?
I really would like to put in there the fact that we don't feel comfortable with the fact that the DOT is not required to come back to us before they implement any changes.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Was the environmental concern, the environmental review? Do we put that in there too?
Yes, we'll put the
Yeah.
environmental. Okay.
There was also, I remember, I don't know if it was at the meeting or somebody Brent mentioned, it might have been Dean actually, the sanitation, picking up the garbage, thoughts of
Right.
how that, is going to be impacted.
Also, Peter mentioned, I think in his remarks, there's an EMS station that's in the 50s along 8th Avenue, has the fire department.
Have they consulted on that?
So the administrative code, and Steve could probably correct me, I don't know, but there are 3 agencies that must give an endorsement or certification of a major construction project. The first is the fire department, the police department, and the Department of Small Business Services. So, they didn't mention that they received those reviews or certifications. So perhaps we should ask for those and say we're concerned, especially because of response times, perhaps with this change and the EMS facility.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, beyond reasonable.
EMS dispatch, okay. Okay, Carmen?
Carmen? You're
You're
muted.
on
You're
mute.
muted.
You're on mute.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Is okay now?
Yes.
Okay. Josephine, I have a lot of friends through Grace in that area on Fort Hamilton Parkway. So I asked her to get somebody to come with me, and I spent 3 hours just on Fort Hamilton Parkway. And I'm sorry I'm late to the meeting, but what they had said about like this affecting the other streets, those other streets are almost like parking lots. When the light changes, it's like a whole bunch of cars will go, but there's like hundreds other right behind it. And so I asked her and she translated through some other women. And they said, if they do this, they said they will still come by Uber or car service, because they said they can shop in certain areas, but there's certain services that are unique there for them. They don't have to like get translators. So they're going there for a multitude of reasons. And then one thing I noticed on those avenues too is, and I don't think it was mentioned at the meeting, where the food delivery people, there's tons of them for the restaurants. And I kept thinking to myself, where are they going to park? If they can't park on the street, they'll be on the sideway or on the sidewalks. So that was like a whole nother group of people. And for them, they feel like, okay, they're putting up a good fight, but they also feel like they're being heard, but they're going to be dismissed. But they will continue to fight. But then I was wondering, can we do petitions here, like on Fifth Avenue, maybe set up a table or something to add to their numbers? Would that be possible?
I don't know. I think I have to tell you, they have large numbers. I mean, Paul
Okay.
Mack at the meeting said he was up to 20,000 signatures.
Wow. Okay. I guess they don't need signatures. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're organized. I mean, they had T-shirts. I mean, they were organized. I mean, they're not joking around. I mean, they need to be heard.
Their emotion, I'll say this again, was palpable. I mean, from the people that I spoke with, they are, many are frightened by this. They feel that it will affect their livelihood. They feel it's not a safer plan. There were many people that are really angry who participated in the surveys, who felt they were promised to be part of a civic engagement process that just did not happen. I mean, I'm just reiterating what was said by the people there. And I think they were just so passionate and concerned. And I hope DOT was listening.
Can we recommend to sort of piggyback off Diane Gennardis, that not only are we upset that they haven't come back to the community, but can we we request, demand, I don't know, something that they come back again with a new plan with some, like, can we try to force their hand a little bit? I don't know what I don't know if there's any obligation or if we have any.
Well, I mean, it's definitely going to be, we'll include it in the motion.
I think you should basically demand it. I mean, I think it maybe even use that language in a way. I don't know, but I mean, it seems.
Strongly urge.
Strongly urge.
I told Josephine the night of the meeting, she was lucky I didn't call her at 3 o'clock in the morning, when all of a sudden I said, okay, they're picking up garbage because this is a residential block, and they have garbage up. So the garbage truck is picking up garbage and the bus is behind it. And they have one lane of traffic.
And that's just Department of Sanitation. You have to imagine that there's private sanitation too with all those.
Oh, plenty up there, plenty.
Right. So that's a whole other.
But I would just say private sanitation tends to work more at night. But in the middle of the day, the garbage truck shows up at 10 o'clock in the morning and everything is standing still because there's a bus and a garbage truck.
Right. And an emergency vehicle along the route.
Department of Sanitation is not one of the agencies that is required to weigh in.
So then can we say, we have a motion on the floor, right? That
we have a motion, we have a second, we've been discussing.
Second, we've had a discussion. So we can basically say that we are, how did you say it, that we deny this plan, right? Or I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, we vote, to
vote against, vote no to it.
To not support the DOT plan as proposed because of these concerns. And we listed 10 concerns. Okay. Anyone else? Steve, you're being very quiet over there in that corner.
Well,
Stephen Bean, very quiet.
Well, I'm quiet because I just got here about 5 minutes ago. Okay. And I've learned that a long time ago, that when you're late, you shut up. All right. But the only thing that I would ask, because I think I've been fairly familiar with this, if you know what I mean. And I think that I would like, if you don't mind, could you just read the thing to me?
Yes, so it's a motion to disapprove the Department of Transportation proposal as presented from the following reasons or concerns, whatever the language we want to pick. One is the 65th Street, safety concerns about the 65th Street and 7th Avenue intersection, the creation of a deadhead situation with southbound traffic meeting northbound traffic at a very dangerous intersection that we've worked very hard on. 2 is insufficient community outreach and civic engagement. We heard from community residents that participated initially in civic engagement with surveys, had no return feedback with the Department of Transportation. 3, there was no statistical data that was presented in relationship to the number of cyclists, commercial deliveries. 4 is limited study areas to parallel corridors, including 6th Avenue, 9th Avenue, Fort Hamilton Parkway, and 65th Street. 5, the impact to transportation, the bus reroutes impacting seniors, changing, spaces between bus stops to now 7 blocks. Concerns about the connection to the 8th Avenue subway once the ADA elevator, and no environmental assessment of those impacts. 6, we don't feel comfortable that the Department of Transportation is not agreeing to return to the community board to review any changes or before they implement the changes with any changes to the proposal. 8 is the Department of Sanitation and commercial waste collection wasn't discussed in the impacts. 9 was the EMS station, which is along the 7th Avenue corridor. Was there a study on the impacts to this design? 10 is, did they receive the, we didn't see a endorsement or review from the fire department or the police department. And then we mentioned, and I don't know if this is part of the environmental, but the environmental justice review. Is it required? That was a question that we had. And then I think we should add the 67th Street, because we're 67th Street back in angle parking is not supported by the residents on that block via petition.
Okay, the one where, if you go back to, I guess about 5 or 6 or 7, there was the one about they didn't come back to the community.
Right.
Okay. I think if you don't mind, that it would be that, well, because their response to me was that they're not required to statutorily. Okay. That's why we're doing this, is because we have to get this out, because they don't have to come back to us if they don't want to. And they're just going to throw this away anyway. But I think that it should be said that although we understand, just so they understand, we know the law. I think this helps. Although we understand that they are not technically required or statutorily required to come back, the failure to do so shows a callous disregard of the degree of upsetment by the residents of this community. Something of that nature,
Okay.
I think, because I think the callous disregard is really what bothers me the most about the whole thing.
And I think we should add in there a specific line that we request that you do come back with the final plan. It's one thing to say you're not coming back. It's
Right.
another thing to say we're requesting that you do come back.
But I don't, that's a different thing. I agree with that.
That's a different
It could even be an A and a B, but I think it's very important to say, we recognize that you are not statutorily required, all right? Let's take that off, because don't give them that out to say, well, the statute doesn't require it.
Yeah.
We recognize that, but we are appalled at this, at the, how do I
Callous
phrase it?
disregard.
At the callous disregard that this community, that the Department of Transportation has shown some concerns or whatever of this community. Okay, the callous disregard, and that's what it is.
Okay. Anything? Did I miss anything?
You
I
can
think
add
that was,
you
I
can
think
add
that
that,
was
you
very
can add that.
nicely stated,
We're
Steve.
gonna add, that was well said, Steve.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, Carmen?
Carmen, you're on mute.
Muted.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, when I was out there Monday, the one thing I kept thinking about was if that was already in place, and if the fire department had to get through, or the police department, or even an ambulance, there's nowhere for cars to move. But then I started thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen? I said, what if they had to do road work? Like any of the utility companies had to go in and dig up the streets on those 2 blocks, they would shut them down.
Anybody else?
Josephine, when you had given a list of, for review, you had mentioned fire, police, and small business.
Mm-hmm.
So and the small business, the opinion of the business community from this area was certainly something that we were getting feedback on at the meeting. So that would be the only other thing that I thought we've mentioned before that I didn't hear this time.
Okay, yeah, we'll put the 3, SBS, NYPD, and EMS. And then, getting back to the elected officials, look, we're going to send this recommendation. I know Stephanie's on for Councilman Brannan, but I think all of our, our elected officials and our portion of the board, because I think even wider than the 10 blocks or so, this potentially could have impact deeper into Diker, with backups.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's in the backup. 100%.
I would say we would send a letter to the councilman Menchaca's office, but we did that and it was returned because he hasn't been in his office. I mean, we've heard that from several people.
He Instagrammed from his office, I think today or yesterday. He had some Instagram photos up there.
Okay, so maybe we'll put it on Instagram.
I would hit him up again. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. So so we have a motion and we have all the details. It was read again.
This was a sham process that they put in front of these people, and it is a disgrace. I just have to say that right now. It was horrible.
Yeah, I know. As somebody who was there for the first time, I mean, like I said, at my first meeting, just sort of taking it all in, it felt that way. It really did. So at this point, I guess we can call a vote. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see if this works. Everyone, hold on.
Ooh, my first TNT vote.
Do you see it all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you vote?
Okay, I just want to make sure in favor means we want this to go, we want this language, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure so that everybody hears that.
You're voting in favor. You are voting in favor of being, yeah, right.
Denying the.
Hey, can you say it again? I'm sorry.
So we're voting for a motion to deny this plan for the 10 reasons why I mentioned it earlier.
Okay.
So put it, I'm going to
Josephine?
just say it out loud. Say put opposed.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Josephine?
Yes. Are you in favor?
Yes.
So if you're voting in favor, then you're voting to deny.
Yes.
Oh,
You're voting in favor of the committee's recommendation to
Right.
disapprove this plan for the 10 reasons stated. So if
Yes.
you agree with that, you would
Or in
vote
favor.
in favor.
oh, all right.
In
Joe,
favor.
change my vote. Sorry. No, I had a long day at the hospital. I'm sorry.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
We do many counterintuitive votes in CB10.
That's right. We do.
Okay. So did everyone vote the way they wanted to? Because I have 7 in favor and 2 opposed.
I'm Joe. I'm voting with you guys. I'm just
All
saying
right.
it out
I'll make
loud.
sure it's
Sorry.
okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Sorry.
Okay.
Josephine?
I'll make sure I fix it. Senya, you did the same?
Yes, I messed it up.
Okay. So then
Sorry.
that's fine. I will correct that. And
I'll be honest with you, I almost did too.
Oh.
Until Steve, I was like, wait a second.
so it was unanimous. Thank you all for voting.
Thank
And so,
you.
this sets if they go ahead with something like this, it could set a very dangerous precedent, within CB10 with
Yeah.
Fifth Avenue, with Fourth Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
not Fourth Avenue necessarily, but, Fifth and Sixth Avenue or whatever. And that's a scary thought.
Mhm.
Good
Well, they
point.
tried a number of years ago to change 2 of the avenues to one-way. And in that case, DOT supported not doing it. That was brought up by Councilman Golden to change 2 of the avenues to one-way. And DOT was opposed to it, supporting the community's position of being opposed to it.
Well, DOT was also opposed twice to this proposal.
Correct.
For
Is that something with
safety
politics
reasons, correct,
involved?
Josephine?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, for safety reasons.
The
For safety reasons.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Then
And
you
what
wonder
do-
why they're proposing it now again.
And
Yeah, it's Mayor de Blasio.
Well, what
Yeah.
they're saying, they have different tools in the toolbox, but it just seems it's such a vast
It seems a lot of things are just trying to be.
But they didn't show us
question.
results of their tools. They didn't show us any statistical data.
No.
And
And-
probably that's because they don't really have any that support stuff.
Right.
Right?
Agreed.
This was,
Right.
I mean, the way I view this is that this is a legacy sham, okay? That somebody wants, probably in conjunction with the other one that we did yesterday. I mean,
Yeah,
come on, this is getting absurd.
yeah, I agree. All right, everyone.
I do want to thank everyone for all the extra work that they're putting in on all of these things that are coming down the pike. Very abruptly, and I feel without a lot of input. I know it's a lot of work for everyone. Everyone's really been, our committee members and chairs have been pitching in and doing so much, way above and beyond. Definitely Steve Harrison has just been the biggest trooper here. Doris, Jane, Anthony for taking up the helm on this. It's such a crucial time, and I really appreciate that. Giving our outgoing chair a break. And it's been tough. And the only thing I want to say is I really do feel that we are voicing the community's concerns, the people who live here, their concerns. We don't just take up these things and, it's not our own agendas. We are listening to everyone in the district and bringing their voice forward. And so I really hope, we often hear, oh, the community board is against this or that. We don't come out here voicing our own opinions. We listen to the people who, live and work around us. And we go to bat for them. And I think it's so important. And it's frustrating at times,
Yes.
and especially now. But I just think, we shouldn't let that frustrate us to the point where we just don't speak anymore.
Yeah.
We have to keep speaking up, because I really do feel we are bringing the voice of the constituents of this district to the electeds. And I think they should listen.
Nicely said, Lori.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree. Thank you, Lori.
Thank
Back-
you.
and Lori, back at you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And thank you to Josephine and Lori and Jane, for entrusting me with what is a very crucial committee here. And I couldn't ask for a better group of people, more knowledgeable people that I can lean on as I catch up with all this important stuff that's coming at me. I look forward to a very, very exciting year in traffic and transportation. So thank you.
Anthony, let's see if you thank her at the end of the year.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, Jane did it for quite some time, so there must be something. About
The two people laughing hardest are the two former chairs at TNT.
Right, exactly.
Well, Anthony, you are going to rock this. You're going to be great. And you have all these fantastic people who will always have your
Yeah,
back.
completely. I feel that. Yeah. So.
Nice
Thank
job, Anthony.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Anthony, and we've got
Good
you
luck,
back.
Anthony.
So Josephine, let me know, because I know I have to do a report and all that for Monday. So let me know if
Yeah.
you need help.
Listen, I
Oh my
will-
God, I have to do a report. Oh, God.
And
The homework is the hardest.
yes,
Yeah, exactly.
but I wrote all these out, Anthony, so I'll just shoot them in an email to you tomorrow.
Great.
Okay?
All right. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Okay,
All right, guys. Have
everyone.
a good night.